everyone, and thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you. I'm glad to have you aboard. Tariq Spence, WDKX. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Not sure what I'm going to do for the next 6 days as we count down to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Pat Duffy, break room. Tough week, right?
What?
Kind of a tough week?
What are you talking about? No, it's fine. Everything's fine. I've already switched over to, Sabres season in my 50th anniversary Sabres Jack Eichel jersey. So no, I'm good. I'm fine.
I think the big story of the week was the fact that the Baseball Hall of Fame opted not to elect anybody this year. What do you think?
Listen, it's not a shocker. You kind of knew with Bonds and Clemens that this was going to be, wait to the last minute and then we'll see what happens. Schilling, I think, what did he just say? He just said, basically, don't even put me on the ballot next year. Just take me off the ballot. I don't want to go through the emotional situation of not being called again. So we'll wait and see what happens. I mean, listen, you've got these legends. Baseball's got to make a decision. I think they probably have. I think they're going to put Bonds in. I think they're going to put Clemens in, even though that they were known to be quote unquote cheaters of the game. This is just going to take a little bit while. This is the penalty. You wait till the very last minute and you say, all right, fine, you get in.
Yeah, but they didn't gain a lot by it. They were still significantly short. And next year, Bonds and Clemens are on their last year on the ballot. And as soon as they come off, A-Rod and David Ortiz, but these guys come on the ballot. So it's not going to get any better, is it?
I think it does get better, though. You look at the way that the public images of those two guys that come on the ballot next year versus the public images of the three guys you named before. I mean, Curt Schilling is a social pariah. Barry Bonds doesn't talk to anybody, even though he's back in baseball. And Roger Clemens has had his issues, too. Whereas, look, if you would have asked me of those five guys who the least popular would have been 10, 15 years later, I would have said Alex Rodriguez. Yet, somehow, he went from being the most hated baseball player in America to one of the most ideal pitchmen for products. He's on television. Everybody loves him. So look, I know it's supposed to be only on-field stuff, right? But that's a lie. Legends of guys get them into the Hall of Fame. If you want a lesson in controversy to being celebrated, you go study everything Alex Rodriguez has done. And frankly, I think he deserves it based on the work he's put in.
This is a popularity contest. Let's be really honest with this. If people like you, you're probably going to get in. And A-Rod has been working on his image the last, 6-7 years or so, extremely hard. Bonds has been nowhere. Clemens has been nowhere. Schilling has been out there, and it hasn't been good. And I think this is where it all sort of leaves it. It's not based on how well these guys played when they played and their numbers stacking up at the time. This is turned into basically a popularity contest like a high school election.
I'm sorry. I do find it funny. Folks are making the argument that Curt Schilling isn't getting in the Hall of Fame because of the reputation that he's had the last couple of years. And it's a fair argument. But if you're going to take one out of those three guys, or if you're going to leave one off, it's going to be Schilling, right? And the fact that Schilling's arguing that his reputation, his history is what is keeping him out of the Hall, you can make the argument that his history is the only thing that's giving him consideration. If there's not a bloody sock game, are we even talking about Curt Schilling as compared to Orel Hershiser, who also isn't in the Hall of Fame right now? He's the one guy of those five, when you look at the numbers, that you can make a legitimate argument isn't a Hall of Fame pitcher.
I just throw two things out of what you guys have been saying. First, Lance Armstrong had said at one point, he says, what's the difference between me and A-Rod? I says, we're the same guy. We did the same things, and he's there, and I'm a pariah. And then the second thing, I think Curt Schilling, it got interesting after he said that he didn't want to be on the ballot with the baseball writers because he didn't respect their opinion anyway. The baseball writers have lobbied to include him on the ballot and to disregard this. It's not because we want to vote the guy in, because we want to stick it to him one more time. So, Tariq, since he talks Schilling. Does Curt Schilling belong in?
Based on the ability of playing baseball, yes. But I just said before, this is not just on that. I think it really matters what athletes. Think about people who get into the Hall of Fame. How much controversy they have on or off the field, how much they still appreciate the game. What do they talk about the game? Are they good ambassadors for the game? All of these different things play in at the end of their career. Are they going to embarrass the Hall of Fame? All of that matters to the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Last thing, Pat, why is this a baseball problem? Everybody has a Hall of Fame, and no one else seems to wrestle with things. Why has baseball got such an issue?
It's because you nerdy baseball diehards take it so freaking seriously, right? Like, you want to say it's all about the numbers. And then, well, I mean, you being a numbers guy is going to make an argument, Bill, as to why, even off the field, that might be a reason to keep out a couple of guys. You don't have proof with some of these guys that they took steroids. There was presumptions. There's stories that have been done. Nothing was caught with Major League Baseball tests for a couple of them. Yet you've already decided, because they've lumped in with other people, and look, they probably did it. You guys have moving goalposts. You guys love to argue with each other. And it's kind of, Bill, you have to admit, I'm not talking about you per se. The cranky old guys who will not let baseball change are the reason why there's such an issue with Hall of Fame voting.
Or just acknowledging the fact that was an era. The steroid era was an era. Put it in. You want to put a little asterisk next to it. You want to put a little line next to it. Just acknowledge that it happened and we can move on. But greatness is greatness.
And I can see Roger Clemens agreeing to a line on his plaque saying, oh, yeah, and he took steroids. We are the Rochester Press Box. We're talking Buffalo Bills next.
Original Bay Goodman Pizza, located on the corner of North Winton at Browncroft. There are 3 ways to get the original Bay and Goodman delivery. Go to baygoodman.com.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. We're talking Buffalo Bills this segment. Pat, I'm not one of these believers that there's only one winner and 31 losers in an NFL season, and I most definitely would put the Bills in the category of having won the season. How do you look at it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at what the expectations were versus where they are now. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the Bills were flying so high and everyone was believing so hard that even as what's the word I'm looking for? Impartial football fan watching what the Bills were doing versus what the Chiefs were doing, I thought the Bills had a legitimate shot to win that game. But look, you're a season, maybe 2 ahead of your building plan. And I think Sean McDermott hit it on the head the other day in the postgame press conference when asked about the Chiefs and his fear of them moving forward. He said the Chiefs are in year 8 of their rebuilding plan. The Bills are in year 3, year 4, maybe. And there's a problem here. Everyone's talking about chasing the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes signed a massive contract. He's the richest player in NFL history. Those guys around him are also going to have to get paid. We are past the years of players that matter taking less like they did in New England. You've already paid the quarterback all this money. The Chiefs have a window. The Chiefs can't go higher than here. And God, I hope this doesn't get recorded and brought back to me 3 years from now while I'm crying. But compared to where the Bills are versus where the Chiefs are going, I'm feeling really good about what's going on in Buffalo.
I think the trajectory for the Bills is amazing. And listen, let me be on record as saying for Josh Allen, I came into the season very skeptical. I think a lot of people were. Let's be honest with it. They're very skeptical about it. And now, even about being ranked one of the top 100 NFL players. And this year, he is probably the top 15 player in the NFL. He's going to secure the bag. He deserves to secure the bag. And what I mean by that is a lengthy contract going forward, especially when we get to the topic of how many quarterbacks might be changing teams this offseason and how much you will rely on a veteran quarterback and how many quarterbacks will be retiring. That being said, I just believe that Josh Allen got to where he needed to be, the AFC Championship game. I knew Kansas City would do exactly what they did offensively. They are just a juggernaut of a team. They wake up in the middle of a game. They score 36 points on you, and then before you know it, you're basically being lulled to sleep at the end of the game.
If you look at the team now, what should they be thinking of doing next?
They're in a really, really good spot, right? Like, not only do you have the guys that matter under contract with the ability to sign Milano back if you want to. You've made Buffalo a free agent destination, and not just because you're winning. Think back to the summer, when they made that Stephon Diggs trade. There were lots of questions as to whether he could succeed, would he be a psycho, and can he go and play in another small market, smaller than Minnesota, and be fine. Not only was he arguably the best receiver in the league this season, he became a legitimate national superstar. They talked about he and Josh Allen every week. And if I'm someone who is a mid to low high free agent, why? It's like McDermott again said in his post-game press conference. Why would I not want to make the best decision of my career and come play football in Buffalo?
When Duffy says free agencies, it's the home, it's the environment, it's people jumping off of their cars and landing on tables. It's the madness of it all that Bills Mafia is. But I said this to Duffy, and I've said this all year long. You have got to get some sort of running game. You have got to be able to run the football. The Bills were devastated by that. When you have a lead, you can definitely sustain a lead if you can run the ball. So a free agent running back is where you got to be looking for, multiple ones too at that. You need about 2 or 3 of them because they tend to break down throughout the season.
Wait, you don't think leaning on TJ Yeldon during the AFC Championship game was a plan to beat the Kansas City Chiefs? You don't think that was going to work after?
I've been telling you about the running game all year long. Don't go memory lost on it. What have I said all year long? Bill, you know what have I said? You need a running game.
I just think that they didn't want to run it. As much as they couldn't, I think it was a matter of the Bills did not want to run the ball. But, we'll see. And I think a free agent running back will come relatively cheaply, too. So we'll have the team ought to have an opportunity to fix that problem. We are the Rochester Press Box. Like It or Not is next. Here's the Press Box trivia question brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
All of these things show Josh Allen has a strive for greatness inside of him.
Falcon Around with Carl Falk. New episodes every Tuesday on Rock Sports Now.
Here's the Press Box trivia answer brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Are you facing criminal charges from a DWI and feel that you never imagined it could happen to you? Contact attorneys with years of experience as prosecutors and defenders. Contact Ganguly Brothers Law today for a free consultation. You can put your trust in us.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. This segment of the Press Box brought to you by Ganguly Brothers Law Firm. With years of experience defending the accused, don't go unprepared. Contact Ganguly Brothers Law today. Like it or not, Tariq, offseason moves by the Mets and the Blue Jays.
Like it for the Mets, now we're recording this. I'm not sure where Trevor Bauer is going to land as of yet. Still been flirting with the Mets. We'll wait and see where that goes. But I think the George Springer thing, maybe it's just me. I'm okay with the Mets not getting George Springer. I was okay with it at that money, at the years that they were looking at. Toronto, who knows where they're going to play baseball at. So I don't know what they're going to do when it comes to the Toronto Blue Jays. But I was okay with it. The Blue Jays are trying to splash the market. They're trying to win it. The Yankees are holding back the money. The Mets, I think maybe one more move, but there's not a lot of free agencies out there. So if they fold the cards here, I'll be good with the Mets winning the offseason.
Pat, like it or not, the offseason for free agent quarterbacks.
Oh, I love stuff like this, man, right? Because you're going to change the face of a franchise in a couple of moves, and you're going to see guys that either had been successful, borderline legendary in this league, or were ready to take the next step, completely disappear in a matter of 2 or 3 months, i.e. Joe Flacco in Denver. Here's what I don't understand, and maybe I'm stupid. Probably not, though. I'm brilliant. In what world is Matthew Stafford worth a first-round pick at 32 years old? Like, I get that his numbers are gaudy, but you had no success, and you had arguably the best wide receiver of your generation in Detroit and did nothing with him. It's weird who the obsession quarterback is every offseason, because it was Flacco a couple of years ago. Is he elite, right? It was Tom Brady last year, of course, but that ends up working out. I am interested to see where Stafford goes and disappoints, and not due to his own fault. He's old. He's been around. Who? Well, you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? A first-round pick for Matthew Stafford?
Yeah. A lot of teams are out of their mind and desperate for quarterbacks. You know how desperate the market is right now. And by the way, that is the only weapon he had in Detroit. There was no other weapon but that weapon. So for Matthew Stafford, I mean, whether it's, I don't know, where's he rumored to go? Dallas, Indianapolis, a couple different places. Who knows where he's going to end up? I think Matthew Stafford's at the top of the list. What about New England?
Ooh.
No, I'm not worried. Yeah, bring him in. I'm not worried about Matt. Yeah, give up a first-round pick for Matthew Stafford. Please, Bill Belichick, give them a first-round pick for Matthew Stafford.
They're not that good.
I would do that in a minute. This segment of the Rochester Press Box brought to you by Ganguly Brothers Law. Unfinished Business is next.
The Press Box Stat of the Week is being brought to you by McArdle's Restaurant in Fairport. McArdle's is open 7 days a week with dining available indoors and out, takeout and delivery. Come home to McArdle's.
And now to Eichel. He floated one.
Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box. It's time for Unfinished Business. We let Pat start it off.
A very smart, bearded man wearing a winter hat said all the way back a couple of months ago before the NBA season started that bringing Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant in under a first-year head coach in Steve Nash that had never done this before was a disaster. That it had happened before in New Jersey, bringing in stars under a guy who never coached before in Jason Kidd, and it was a tire fire. Well, they had to go out and get James Harden to try and right that ship as everything is going on with Kyrie Irving in the background. Here's my question. I get you have talent, and I get that 3 of the highest usage percentage of players in NBA history are on the same team on the floor at the same time right now. What made you think that a team that wasn't successful because of a little bit of drama and crazy is going to be more successful when you bring in more drama and crazy? When they're out there together, it's fun to watch. But when you lose to the Cavaliers, one of the worst offensive teams in the league, it's a problem. When one of those guys is going to have to come off the bench, and it's going to have to be Kyrie Irving for this to succeed, it's going to be a problem. And all you're doing is making Steve Nash look terrible. He doesn't have the personality to make this work. Heck, every time I watched him get dunked on, he slowly got up, walked over to the bench, and didn't say anything. That's just a slam dunk once in a game. What happens when you have 3 of the best players in the NBA, maybe 2 that are generational, screaming in your face? Keep adding pieces, try to make it work to inevitably get to the spot where it was never going to work in the first place.
Baseball world lost a legend in Hank Aaron at the age of 86. I'm here to talk about Hank Aaron just for one moment, in the sense that he was one of the first baseball players I actually followed when I was a kid. As a matter of fact, when I went to Convent Avenue Baptist Church in Harlem, I did a report on him in front of the youth organization at the time, reporting about his big home run of 715. He's got a lot of different numbers, 23, 755, but it's 715. And in the moment when he rounds the bases, where 2 people come out of the stands, run behind him, and congratulate him. I've always felt a little bit uncomfortable about that moment in recent years, because I looked at it from the standpoint of Hank Aaron and the number of threats he got in order to break that record, or just before he broke that record, and the thought process he might have had when rounding the bases and seeing 2 strangers come from behind to ultimately congratulate him. I thought about his class in the moment, where most people would say it couldn't have been me. I would have just punched the 2 guys, not knowing what was going on. But Aaron didn't. He shrugged them off, continued around the bases, and hit home plate and achieved the record. I can't imagine what was going through his mind when he had those 2 people come in. And thank goodness they didn't want to hurt Hank Aaron. But thank goodness Hank Aaron had the class to go through all of that and break the records and end up with 755. Hank Aaron was nothing but class. A little bit of that is still needed in 2021.
Hey, hundreds of fans greeted the Buffalo Bills on their return from Kansas City at 3 a.m. in bone-chilling cold out at the airport. The final act of the season for the Bills Mafia. The term itself isn't really endearing, right? Mafia, organized crime, contract killings. Early on, the Buffalo Mafia, the Bills Mafia, lived down to that name. They developed a reputation for public drunkenness, body slamming tables, condiment fights, giving an even worse look to an already difficult situation with the football team in the midst of a 17-year playoff drought. This was not part of the plan when Del Reed coined the term back in 2010. Reed is a lifelong Bills fan, small business owner, outwardly religious, with a deep charitable streak. The pieces began to come together when it was discovered that former linebacker Darryl Talley suffered from depression and was destitute. Bills fans raised money to help. Cincinnati's Andy Dalton and Tyler Boyd helped end Buffalo's playoff streak. Bills fans raised money to help their foundations. There was a fundraising effort for a hospital in the name of Josh Allen's grandmother. And most recently for Lamar Jackson's charities, simply because he suffered a concussion at the hands of the Bills defense. And because the Bills Mafia came to stand for something else, something good, something great. There are no membership fees. There are no club cards. How do you get in? Well, according to the credo, do you bleed red, white, and blue, eat, sleep, and breathe Buffalo Bills? Then you're already in. These are good days to be a Buffalo Bills fan and a member of the Mafia. That's our Unfinished Business, and that is our show. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
And Pat, are you a member of the Mafia?
Okay. By the way, Bill beautifully said, Del Reed, the guy who kicked all this whole thing off, him and his crew, he is one of the only people I've ever met who does not want anything from anybody. Everything he does is out of the kindness of his heart. And when I grow up, I don't want to be Tariq. I want to be Del Reed.
Nicely done, gentlemen. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again next week with the Rochester Press Box.